All right, okay, so great to have you here, Scott. Fantastic to be able to spend some time just really having a bit of a chat, really. So this is just a conversation. I've got a few questions that I wouldn't mind just asking you, just to get a bit of a feel for kind of who you are, what you've done, and where you're going, really. But I guess by way of quick introduction, this is obviously Scott Fairgrieve, who is the co-owner of Brews and also a serial entrepreneur with multiple businesses and a friend. So again, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you about kind of your story, Scott. So again, I think that anyone who listens to this conversation, I think will be entertained because I know you, and also will be inspired and will also learn some stuff as well. So again, I'm excited to be speaking with you.
Thanks very much for your kind words and having me. So it's my favourite subject, talking about myself, so I'm hoping it'll be good.
All right, okay. Well, let's just kick off with a nice opener. Tell us what made you start your business or your business kind of life.
So probably goes back to when I was 14 years old and I wanted a BMX bike, and we never had much money in my family when we grew up. So my mum said to me that when you work and earn money, you can buy anything you want, son. And I questioned that. I says, what, I can buy anything I want? Because we'd lived on the bread line and have to save up for things and get them. So when she was telling me that I can actually work and buy anything I want, that was the thing, that was a switch for me. Boom, really? So I went away out and I got a job, £5 a week, and I'd go down every week and get my cab stamped. And the bike was £150. So my first week I got stamped, paid £150, paid £5, due £145. And as soon as I seen that, I thought, this is brilliant, I'm going to get this bike that I've always wanted. Then I was thinking, if I actually have 3 jobs, that would come down by £15 a week. I'd get 3 times faster. So my first sort of starting business was probably at 14-year-old. And I think my 3 jobs, one of them was selling tablet and macro around the door. So maybe that's where my sales and my entrepreneurial flair came from. But so 14-year-old. I then also, obviously, I left school. I started as a joiner. I trained as a quantity surveyor. Eventually went self-employed. Eventually then started owning companies. So that's kind of it. Probably the instant was 14-year-old, my BMX bike, saying, son, you can buy anything you want when you work and have your own money. So I think it was from there. Thanks, Mum.
And okay, was your family from a business owning background then, or?
No, both mum and dad, hard workers. We never had much money, but I had a great childhood, loved, clothed and fed, had an absolutely brilliant time. We were always laughing in my house, it was great. But my dad would work during the day. In fact, my dad passed away a few years ago, which is quite sad, but one of his mantras was one job, one wife and one house. He stayed in the same house that he got when pre-married. He worked with the same company, started as a sweeping the floor. He then trained as a glass blower. He then became office manager. Then he went right up to general manager, and he was basically running the business until he retired at 72. And my mum, so when my dad would come in from work, my mum would go out to work because she had to stay and look after myself and my sister. And my dad was one of the guys where he was artistic. He wasn't driven by money. He was happy as anything. But like his mantra when we got later on in life and I was working for myself, he's like, I don't know how you do it, son. He says, I like to close the factory doors at 4:30 and not think about it until I open them at 8 o'clock. And I like to just spend the time doing whatever I want to do. So not business orientated at all. My uncle was a bit of a businessman. He owned a chippy and he owned a trolling boat and various different things. So there was some in the family, probably somebody who done business, but the majority of people around me were just people who had jobs and worked for other people.
It's funny, isn't it? Just on as you talk about your dad there. So actually, there's loads of differences between you and your dad in terms of at least your mentality around business, but in terms of values as well, how you live your life. I dare say there's probably quite a lot of similarity based on what you've told me about him.
Oh yeah, my dad was my hero, and he taught me in my work ethic. So basically, when I was a young boy at school, I said, everybody trying to get off school. Oh, I've got a sore throat, I've got a sore head, I can't go to school. My dad said, no problem, but if you're not going to school, you're not going out. Because if you're not well enough to go to school, you're not well enough to go out and play. And as a young boy, thinking, well, maybe not that bad. Maybe just go because I want to go and play with my pals at night. So he taught me work ethic. Basically, go to your work. No matter what is wrong with you, go to your work. And later on in my life, when I was a foreman joiner, I actually had major surgery on my stomach. I had a poisonous abscess that was about to burst, but I didn't realise at the time. So that I could hardly walk, but I was just been promoted to foreman, and under that mantra that you go to your work. So I could hardly carry my toolbox, I could hardly get to the site. And when I came home that day, I got rushed to intensive care and got operated on. But I went to my work, because you go to your work unless you can't. So I thought it's just painful, man. Proper sore, but I went. So yeah, my dad taught me hard work. He also taught me how to have a laugh. And you know me, I do like a laugh.
Just a bit. Excellent. So, as you look back over the years, then Scott, what are some of the key moments that you would say have been defining for you in your business, and maybe and why so?
So when I started work properly, left school and had a job, I realised that I needed to be the best that I could be. So I started studying positivity and self-belief. So I think my mindset is the key, or studying or training my mind to be as positive and to have a laser beam focus and set my mind to do whatever I want to do is my defining moment. But it was over a period of years. So basically everything that's happened to me, I've taken that as a learning, good or bad. The good stuff I've tried to repeat, the bad stuff I've learned from and tried not to repeat. So I think early on it's my mindset, my positivity. I've had a few key moments probably. My second job as an apprentice. So I got a job with one of my dad's friends as an apprentice joiner. 2 years into my apprenticeship, he said he was going to leave to go to Greece and work in bars. Do I want to go and do that? I said, no, I want to finish my time. So I found out a job from a guy called Bill Forsyth, who was part of the Miller Group. So I phoned him up and I said, Bill, my journeyman's going to leave. I need to finish my time. And he said, no problem. Next time you're passing, just come in and see me. So I hung up the phone, jumped on 2 buses, chapped his door an hour later. And he said, you the guy who's just on the phone? He says, yeah, I got 2 buses, came straight to see you. He says, well, in you come, but you've already got the job because I like your style. And one of the things in life is take action. Don't wait on somebody coming to you. You just go and take action and make it happen. And I've done that my whole life. So that was a key moment, maybe learning to take action. Having the right mindset, taking action. I was then, I made a big, I done a trained as a quantity surveyor. One of my sort of key things in business is I done a big job myself. When I went self-employed, I won a big job. It was a £280,000 project, and I made just under £100,000 in 6 months. I've never even dreamed about money like that before, so that was like massive. So that was a key thing for me. My next big thing is I bought my first property development that I ever done. I bought a church and I converted it into 12 apartments in a year, sold them and made £714,000. I believe that money. That was just unknown for me. And then right up probably to my peak. At my peak, I had taken my company Change Homes to just under 40 million in sales. Just quite an achievement from a wee joiner from Leith. And then probably I made my first £1 million. I always wanted to be a millionaire. I stayed next to a garage. The guy who owned the garage had a Porsche and had a Rolex watch, and he was always doing good things. Like if I just wanted, I had holes in my jeans and holes in my trainers. I just wanted to have these material things because I thought that was the trappings of success, or the key to success was material things. I've since found out it's not. It's all about happiness. But at the time, when I never knew any better, it was all material things. So he had a Porsche then. So made my first £1 million at 29. I felt really, really pleased with myself at that. I bought my dream home in Archerfield, a home that I dreamt about for 10 years. I grew up in a 2-bedroom flat, and when I came along, when my wee sister came along, my mum and dad had got a stud partition across the kitchen, and I got the back half, which it had no window. So I always wanted to stay in a big mansion. I'd worked in some really big properties, so I built a 9,000 square foot house down in Archerfield, which was my dream home. I drew it, had it on my wall for 10 years, dreamed about it, and then achieved it. And then by the age 35, I actually had achieved all my material goals. But I realised that even though I had nice cars and a big house and money in the bank and pretty successful, I realised there was something missing, and it was happiness. Never had that balance, which we have now through Fairgrieve. So that is some of my key moments.
Very good. It's a life well lived, isn't it? It's an interesting life to date, with even more exciting things to happen, I'm sure, right?
Oh, I'm probably one of the, in a handful of people, or a very, very small percentage of people that, if my number comes up tomorrow, and there's still things I want to do, but
Yeah.
I'd go to my deathbed a happy man. I've done everything in life I want to do. So.
Good on you. Good on you. So okay,
I still want to live another 50 years, just for
I was
clarity.
going to say, and I wish that for you too. So what are some of the most satisfying things then that have happened? You've kind of spelled out a few things that you've managed to achieve, and what are the most satisfying things along the journey?
For me, right now, it's having Fairgrieve. So
Okay.
I've had many different businesses, done many different things across many different industries, but
Yeah.
having Fairgrieve basically means that I get to work with my two sons, my daughter and my wife. Now, obviously, we've came to you for action coaching, which you've been fantastic with us. That's just not a plug, but you've acted as an intermediary between me and the boys so that we gelled together. So rather than having that conflict of father and sons, we've actually now treat each other as businessmen, and you've helped us get around that. So thanks very much for your valued coaching for that. But yeah, so most satisfying thing is right now in Fairgrieve working with my family.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much better than that. So that's my key. Initially, probably it was making the money. That's what I really wanted in life, was money, and doing some big deals that people say, you'll never be able to do that. You're just a joiner from Leith. Who do you think you are? So then doing them. One of the things in life I've always found very satisfying, or previously when I was not as nice a person as I am now, is doing the things that people say that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
I draw satisfaction from that, or I used to. I've done developments where I've done deals where I've bought something in the morning, sold it in the afternoon, and made 250 grand. So literally, and I've used the person who bought its money to buy it. So I've actually just made 250 grand for just knowing what I know. I took a 50 grand investment, turned into 2.7 million pound in 5 years. I bought into a business which was a global leader, and I partnered them in the UK to run their divisions. When you start in business for yourself, getting funding and getting money is hard. And you always just you think you've got a great idea, you've got a great business, and you're like, I wish somebody would just back me. I wish somebody would support me. This is a great thing, and it's hard, really, really hard. So one of the things I found most satisfying is I was part of a business that we borrowed £100 million from the Clydesdale Bank. Sorry, never ended up borrowing it, but we got approved for £100 million loan. Now, giving it money is hard. To be in a position to have been approved £100 million war chest is quite special. So I quite like that. And as I said, probably money originally was all my things, but as I got a wee bit older, I think when you don't have money, money's your goal. But then when you get to a level where you want to be, you realise that money's not as important as you think it is. It's happiness and being a good person. So I then moved to, I really like helping people. So I've had some apprentices that have came through that I've taken under my wing. I've had people work for me as junior contracts managers. I've taken under my wing, and now to see them actually have their own businesses and do what I used to do is really quite satisfying, because I've helped them go from there to there, and they've like I'm kind of been their mentor. They've phoned me up, and I've went back and I've helped. Even some of them are in competition. They're in majority of them in the construction industry. They're my competitors, but I still help them so that they can go on in life. So I quite like that. And I suppose now in Fairgrieve, my experience, I can partner or I can go into other people's businesses and I can help them avoid the mistakes that I've made so that they don't have to make them, so they don't get the sleepless nights. So that's quite a thing as well. So
do you know the thing that strikes me of knowing you as I do now, Scott, is you've got a high level of self-belief, and I think this idea of being good and fair to yourself is actually it's an underdeveloped skill in people, because if you look at how much mental health problems people have and low self-esteem, you certainly don't suffer from that. And I say that I don't say that kind of cheekily. I say that with respect. Do you know? Because you have got a high level of self-belief. Now, some people might say, well, gosh, you're quite confident, aren't you? But you've got a confidence, but that I see that as a good thing. Right. And I think it's been able to kind of see you through a lot of challenges as well. So, you once said to me, Alan, give me a challenge. And he says, you ask me to walk across walk across the Firth of Forth to Fife, I think I could probably do it. Right? And I know that was a ridiculous thing to say, because you're kind of you've got a good kind of way with words, but actually that was an indication on, look, actually no challenge is too big for me. And I guess that maybe leads me to the next question, which is, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced, over your business life, and how have you then got through them?
Wow. So yeah, I think people look at you now and think, "Oh, that's great. He does what he does now." But yeah, I mean, my life's been a struggle of ups and downs. What's got me through it, but was my old school motto, and that was persevere. And you're never beaten until you give up. And I just don't give up. Simple as that. So, and that is that easy. Never give up. Keep going. Keep moving forward. Keep picking yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going forward. So, challenges. I've had businesses that have failed, because not every business is successful. No matter how much you pick yourself up and try, some businesses you just don't work. I had a fallout with the DTI, and I had to fight with them through the court, the High Court, the Inner Circle. That was quite challenging. Back in 2008, the credit crunch, I lost about £12 million. That's not very nice. I've had cash flow issues, I've had staffing issues, planning issues. I've had business partners that have not done the right thing as they said they were going to do. But for me, I always try and make the best out of a bad situation. So when something happens to me, I don't treat it as a mistake, I treat it as a lesson, and I learn from it to make sure I don't do it again.
I'm standing up here because you've said loads of things that you've said have kind of sparked thoughts in my head, but two things. One is your school motto being persevere. I mean, how appropriate is that for you? And then what you've just said there just now is, I'll hold that up. Can you read that out?
Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. There you go.
It's up on my wall. So Coach John Wooden, I just love that quote, and I suppose it's exactly what you've just said there. Whatever happens, fine. I'll take it as a lesson, and I'll build on from there.
Well, if you think you're going to start your own business and go down your journey and have no setbacks and no problems and no issues, then you're living in make-believe world. Unfortunately, that's just life. Yeah. But just learn from your errors. It's only a fool who repeats their mistakes. Everybody's allowed to make mistakes. In fact, the person who never made a mistake never actually made anything, because you have to make mistakes to learn. So just don't repeat them.
Yeah, great perspective. So tell me this, what about if you look back to when you were in the early stages of your business? Kind of, what advice would you now give your younger self? Because you're a good number of years in terms of experiences and experience. So if you were to then say, okay, if I had the knowledge if I had the knowledge that I've got today back then, what are the things that you'd like to pass back to your younger self?
Probably one of my first businesses that was quite successful. We took on a chairman, and he suggested that we got an interim finance director. And I always remember the finance director used to say, "Don't kill the goose that lays a golden egg." And I never understood what it meant. Don't kill the goose that lays a golden egg. And what that was we were spending money before we earned it. We were expanding too fast. So you have to wait until you earn your money and then take your profits. Don't spend on the way up. And that's what he meant. Don't kill the goose that lays a golden egg. Because if you make 100 grand and spend 100 grand, you've got nothing to grow and on. So basically, so he said to me, he used to tell me that all the time, and I used to laugh at my co-director. I said, "What's he talking about?" But now I understand it's knowing your numbers, knowing that how much what service that you're charging. I mean, we looked at one of the businesses we went into the other few months back. They were selling baked potatoes. I'll tell you the story because it's really important about knowing your numbers. They were selling baked potatoes, and they wanted to sell the best baked potatoes that they could with the best selection. So they're doing chicken tikka, chicken masala, tuna and sweet corn, cheese, beans, like loads of different fillings. However, they never had the volume of sales to make that work. So they're buying fresh ingredients that done 12 portions, and then they were having to throw out 6 to 8 portions. But because they had that many, each baked potato they were selling for £3.95 was actually costing them £12.95 to pay. So I said to them, what you'd be better doing, and this is businesses not knowing the numbers, I said to them, what you're better doing is when somebody comes up and asks for a baked potato, take £5 out the till, give it to them and say, we don't do baked potatoes, but you better go to McDonald's and you'll actually buy something there. I says, you'll make more money. And they're like, how can that possibly be, giving them money to till? I says, because you're charging $3.95, but it's costing you $12.95. You have to know your numbers. I never knew my numbers when I was first growing up in business. I just bluffed my way through it, or I would pretend I know the numbers. But now, any business that I go in, I know all the numbers. I look at them inside out. I check margins to ratios, and you have to know your numbers. So yeah, going back, myself,
great.
know your numbers. Numbers are the language of business, so you must know them.
Love that. And and again, it's one of those things. It's actually really easy to hear that lesson, but it's surprising just how many businesses maybe know that but don't then implement against that advice. So
quite a lot of businesses that I've spoke to recently, they think they know the numbers because their bookkeeper or accountant's giving them the numbers, but they're not actually reading them and paying attention. They're not actually drilling down and making it happen. So yeah, you definitely need to know your numbers. But I suppose that was in the early stages. Right now as well, but probably balance. When I first started in business, I would work 7 days a week, meetings at 7 in the morning at the West End, working till 3 in the morning. So not all the time, but sometimes, but really doing 80, 120 hours a week, making it work. Now that's great because you can railroad to wherever you're going to go. However, at what sacrifice? So for now, going back and tell my younger self, it'd be have more balance. Make sure I spend enough time on everything, not just on one thing, one avenue of life. It's like anything, if you work very hard as a runner but don't eat properly, then even though you're a runner, if you don't eat properly, it's going to drag you down, it's going to fail you. So have to spend on all four areas. That's what you need to do. So my younger self, numbers and balance. That's what
Well, it's interesting because my next question was going to be, and this is maybe where you introduce the kind of the Fair Bros 4, which is a phenomenally simple thing, but very, very powerful. But my question was going to be, what are some of the things that you feared or maybe stressed over, which looking back really just weren't worth the worry?
So that's a really hard one for me to answer. I've been asked it quite a few times because I'm so positive and because of my mindset. I think I'm invincible. So I don't like admitting something would stress me because I would rather fix what it was.
Yeah.
And then, so that's a really, really hard question for me. I'm thinking about that. So one of the things I say to anybody, mainly my family, is don't worry about anything until you have something to worry about. So for example, if you caught yourself in a rusty nail and you go to the hospital and then you worry that you're going to get rabies, well, don't worry until the doctor phones you up and says, I'd like to give you results, you've got rabies. Well, it'd be a dog biting you as opposed to whatever you get from passing on a nail. But what I'm saying is, don't worry about anything until you have something to worry about. In life, most people worry about the things they shouldn't be worrying about. I think that's the point of your question, but I don't kind of live like that. I only worry when somebody... So, for example, when my accountant in 2008 said, Scott, draw a line in the sand, everything that you've got to now is gone. I worried then because I just lost 12 million quid. But, so that was a worry. And I worried, but you know what? I think I've told you the story before. I went to bed that night and I cuddled my wife and I thought, you know what? I've got my family and I'll just start again tomorrow and I'll just make it back because I believe in myself so much. So I still had my family, I still had my health, and I still had my mindset, and that will always keep me going forward and keep me doing what I'm doing.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, worried about losing my assets probably. And I have since now learning from your mistakes. I now make sure that I have my assets in one place and my trading vehicles in another place so that they're safe.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And okay, what about some of the things that you didn't initially think too much about, but with hindsight, you might have benefited from more consideration?
Probably spreading myself too thin, thinking you can do everything. If you've got 4 or 5 different ventures on the go at one time, when you're first starting out and you're learning, like when you're first learning to ride a bike, you don't ride the bike with the stablers, ride a road bike, ride a mountain bike, ride a BMX and go on a motorbike. You learn on one bike. You learn, you get your skill, and when you're good at it, you then can expand and go to different things. But initially, it's paying the attention on your business and making sure you know your business inside out, making sure that you know if something's going off track to pull it back in, that you make that business a very, very smooth model that just works. Then repeat that. but don't try and don't. I describe this as a good way, than it is spinning plates.
Yeah.
You can build a concrete platform, you can stick a pole in it, you can make a plate, and you can spin it. But if you try and do that your first time with 10 plates, try and spin them all and build them all and putting the pole in there and making the concrete block, it's not going to work. You need to build the foundations, put your pole in, spin your plate. When that's spinning, start again, build your second foundation, put your pole in, spin your plate, go back, spin your first plate. So you can just then, all you need to do, the only effort is spinning the plate. You're not doing everything at the one time. So you have to focus on the one thing first till you're good at it, then you can do more. Not try and do more at the one time. And again, back to numbers, know your numbers. Know your numbers.
Yeah, it's a key message, isn't it? Very nice indeed. And I guess just to wrap things up then, this has been really interesting conversation. And I guess, you've, obviously you're kind of got multiple businesses, but Fairbrews is kind of at the center of a lot of it. And maybe again, bring some of that into this last question, but what's the motto that you live by? I think I know it, but actually I don't want to assume. What's the motto that you live by? And also, what quote has inspired you to achieve the progress that you've made to date? So yeah, mottos and quotes.
My main motto is dream, believe, take action, and receive. So that is my main thing, because if you do that, I'm a great believer in the law of attraction, but not just thinking about things happening. You need to take the action. I think a lot of people just, they get their goals, but they don't actually go and take action to make them happen. Yeah. It's not just, so you have to dream, 100% you have to dream, you have to be a dreamer. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know without a shadow of doubt that you can do it. And then you need to take action so that it does that. Because it's not good enough dreaming about it and knowing you can do it if you don't actually do it. So it's dreaming, believing, taking action, and then you will receive. And it is as simple as that. So that's my main motto if I had to pick one. But okay. I have my goals that I read every night and every day. They're on my wall there, they're on my phone, they're on my Kindle. And after my goals, I have a few wee sayings that I just like. So one is, if it's to be, it's up to me. Yeah. And that means, again, it's kind of taking action when I need to go and do it. Another one is, I like to say, how easy. And this is funny, if you ever see me somewhere, whenever my back's against the wall and something really stresses me or challenges me, I like to do, oh, how easy. And it just makes it then become in my mind that it's not hard, it's easy. And when you switch that way of thinking from it being hard to being easy, as if by magic, it becomes easy. So how easy, and then what you think about, you bring about. So I try and not let any bad thoughts get in my mind. And as soon as they do, because we're only human, I flick a switch and I think about this BMX trick that I do, and then that takes that bad thought away. So I'm now in a happy place and a good thought, and I can get on with what I'm doing. So that's it. Dream, believe, take action, receive. If it's to be, it's up to me. How easy, and what you think about, you bring about.
Brilliant.
However, probably the one that's took me to where I am today is my mum.
All right, go on.
When you earn, you usually go out and have a job. When you earn your own money, you can buy anything that you want.
Yeah.
So she told me to go out and make it happen. Again, they're probably all about taking action. What was the one you thought it was going to be?
No, well, I'm glad I didn't just tell you what your motto was, and I'd rather ask the question, because I thought you were going to say it's about balance, or it's the Fairbrews 4, because that's something that you've implemented kind of with the your co-directors who are also your sons, it's been picked up by lots of people as being, wow, that's so simple but so effective.
Well, that's now a way of life.
Yeah.
So that, and again, Jay's been brilliant at that. He has taken, what he said when he wanted to lose weight was, don't think of a person who wants to lose weight. Think of your person who's at the right. Think of yourself as a person who's at the right weight. So now we have that balance every day. It's a habit. We've worked over the last few months to make sure that our Fairbrews 4 is now just a habit. And every day we get that balance, and every day we grow a bit bigger and a bit better and a bit stronger. So it's not so much a saying as a way of life now for us.
And again, just very, very quickly then, as a summary, what is the Fairbrews 4 then? So for people who might be watching this who have not come across it yet.
So the Fairbrews 4 is a system to create balance in your life, to bring you happiness. Now, each of the 4, if you imagine each 4 is a leg on a table. So you have your mind, you have your body, you have your business, and you have your relationships. And if you don't work on all 4, if you only work on your business, that leg will get stronger. And if that leg was longer by 2 inches, your table would rock. And if so if you imagine you need to work on all four to have the same strength in each one, the same size, same strength. That way your table is solid. That way you can stand on your table and you can leap off and do anything you want. If you're on a table that rocks, or you lean at one side and one leg snaps, it just doesn't work. Now, how many times have you, or for me, I've sat in the office and worked rather than go to the gym. But without my body, my brain's not going to work. So you must look after yourself. So you need to work on your body. You need to work on your business, because that is going to get you all the things that you want. You have to work on your relationships. How many times have you fallen out with your partner, you've went to work and you're in a bad mood, and then your business has been affected? So in relationships, like anything, you have to work on them. They don't just happen. Everybody just doesn't get up in the morning and they're just happy. You have to work at it. And anything worthwhile, you have to work at it. So work at your relationships, and you'll have great relationships. And then your mind, you need to be learning all the time. So you need to be reading, you need to be listening to podcasts, you need to be doing things like this where we're talking and we're learning and we're sharing experiences. So yeah, all four. So the Fairbros 4, we have this wee chip that, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Our Fairbros 4 chip that we live to daily, and we've just created these new pads that you can actually write them all down. So the Fairbros 4 pads, I actually sent you one yesterday, Alan. But
nice. Okay, look forward to it.
These are just a simple thing each day to write something in each box, and you will get balance. And I guarantee you, when you've got the balance, you'll be happier. And who doesn't want to be happier? Very nice. There you go.
Very nice. Well, listen, I think what's hopefully coming through from all of these answers that you've given is just, I guess it's the thing that I love loads of stuff about you and the your boys as well, Scott. But it is this kind of what goes on inside here. It's all about a decision that's triggered by the way you think, and then to kind of get your arse moving and to act. And I admire that massively in you. So genuinely, it's been a treat to listen to what you've got to say. So thank you.
Thank you.